my name is Sam. Thanks for checking out this video. If you get to the end and liked it, hit the like button, the subscribe button, the bell notification button. So maybe you're watching this in between all of the James Charles and Tati Westbrook drama. Trust me, I get it. I literally have done nothing for the past 18 hours but watch those videos. I'm not even a part of the beauty community. I'm just here for the drama. But anyways, this is what I read last week, or this past week, / catching up from that week that I was in Jasper and didn't do my wrap-up video thing stuff. So I figured the easiest way to do this is I had quite a few rereads, so there's no point in me reviewing books that I've already reviewed on here. So I'm just going to tell you, those are the ones that I read, and then I'll tell you about the ones that are new. So I absolutely did a reread of Wicked Saints by Emily Duncan. This was because she came to the TBR and Beyond group, and we just had our group discussion in there. So I wanted to refresh myself in my mind, and I also listened along to the audiobook this time. So still love. To help get me out of my funk that I was in a little while ago, I reread Illuminae just because I wanted to hurt myself, really, and it's a really good book, and try and get myself excited for Aurora Rising, because I don't know why, I really dislike that cover, and it's taking away my want to read the book. But anyways, love this. This week I also did a reread of Earth's End to refresh my brain so then I can go to Water's Wrath and Crystal Crowned. I also did a reread of Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow, because the TBR and Beyond group voted, and the middle grade read for the month is Nevermore and Wondersmith. So refresher, because it's been 3 or 4 months since I read it, and it's time to reread it. Okay, my apartment's kind of a mess, so I'm hoping I remembered all the books that I missed, but these can kind of go together. So I read Silent in the Grave and Silent at the Sanctuary. I think it's Silent in the Sanctuary. This is the Lady Julia series from Deanna Raybourn. I read the first 2. I don't know that I'll continue the rest of the series. They're not quite as, inhale-y for me as the Veronica Speedwell one is, but it was just cool to kind of see her writing style, and she seems to have a thing that it's her thing to write females in the Victorian era that don't generally they don't generally conform to gender norms and expectations of the time period. So I read the first 2. I didn't mind them. They were 3 or 4 out of 5 stars, both of them. Yeah, I feel like the Speedwell's books just have more of a plot and much more the characters are much more at the forefront, so that really works for me. But it was really cool to see kind of where she started at. This week I also did a read of Going Postal by Terry Pratchett. This is sort of a reread. I know I read it when I was younger, but I literally couldn't remember even if I owned the book, if it was a library borrow, if it was an audio, how old was I? I don't know. So I remember watching the TV movie miniseries years ago, and I didn't realize it came out almost 10 years ago now, which is insane to me. So I wanted to reread and refresh, and he's passed on since, but I love the Going Postal movie, and I forgot how almost identical the adaptation was to the book. I can really appreciate that now, especially that it's almost dead on, and yeah, I just love Terry Pratchett's writing and his weird kind of world. It kind of seems fantasy, but it's almost no, I get this world. It could be our world. And the character's name, Moist von Lip, I want to make sure, Lipwig, because I keep wanting to say Lip something else. Moist von Lipwig's the main character, and he is a con artist professionally, and he gets caught, and they basically pretend that he dies, and then Lord Vetinari, who's kind of the ruler, not king, but I don't know, local governor or whatever, brings him back to life, had his death faked basically in a public hanging, and then is well, as part of your punishment, actually we'll let you live, but you have to be the postmaster of this this community, bring back the post office, because it's essentially the community's been replaced by a more updated version of technology. However, they own a monopoly now in the community, and they're gouging users, and the services drop dramatically, and so he wants to bring back the post office to rival them, and there's some sketchy things going on under that monopoly company, and so we get some weird vampires, and it's just a weird, wonderful book. I love this book. I feel like it's also a good light fantasy for people maybe trying to get into fantasy. It's not super detailed. The characters are all likable and enjoyable, flawed but enjoyable, and it's just really fun read. I never thought I'd be interested in a book about the post office, so I really enjoyed. Still 5 out of 5 stars. I also read An Affair of Poisons by Addie Thorley. in the month of April, I had 2 books set basically during the French Revolution time period, Enchanté and An Affair of Poisons. And I was like, if one of them isn't at least one of them has to be like decent, okay? Like, or I'm gonna be angry. Enchanté was actually really good. I enjoyed that one. This was a flop for me, unfortunately. This is a book that we've all read before, okay? It has, you know, this promise of women in science, STEM, and like power positions, and then all they do is spend the entire book like weepily following after some boy and being the most dense, gullible human being you've ever read in a time period. Everything that you would expect to happen, it happens. It's very tropey. There's no twists and turns. There's nothing to make it special. We've all read this book before, and we've all read it better, with maybe more twists or some more likable characters or a romance that doesn't make you want to bash your head off the wall. That might be a personal thing, but I am sick to high heavens of being told of like, this woman's in science, and then literally all she does is get betrayed the whole book, and yet for some reason never at any point starts to question her own judgment or having to learn what red flags are, and then just follows the stupid lovesick trope. I'm so done with it. Writing itself wasn't bad, it's just nothing special. I'm not sure why. This isn't like to try and drag the author or anything. I just don't know why this was published over other books. Because there's, like, this book's like that. It's been written before. It's been written better. It's been written with more likable characters, with maybe more surprise twists, with, you know, a better price point. Like, it's just, this book was unnecessary, for lack of a better term. Again, not a go at the author. I'm just curious, honest to God, why the publisher decided to publish it. The cover doesn't match what the actual inside is. The floral stuff does. This thing here, like, that literally basically has nothing to do with it. There's a lot of betrayal, and I just found the main character immensely frustrating, and honest to God, just a really stupid human being. Like, at what point do you stop? Why would we want a main character whose literally whole thing is like she doesn't learn a single lesson and just lets herself be thoroughly abused and just continues to not listen and not learn and follow like a lovesick puppy after some stupid boy? Like, just, I'm done with this whole thing. Like, I can't do this anymore. So yeah, this was just a big flop for me, unfortunately. I also just kind of on a whim picked up The Final Six by Alexandra Manier. I got a notification that my audiobook hold had come in, so I just like, whatever, I'll follow along. I actually really enjoyed this. It's set on like a space station where there's definitely some, well, people kind of get picked from different geographical places, and they have to compete in order to be the final 6 to go into a space station that's essentially going to try and resettle a new planet, because imagine climate change destroying our planet. Like, wow, like, that's like such a far-off concept. But we follow predominantly these 2 main characters, and neither of them really wanted, one of them especially didn't really want to go, and she ends up spending basically the whole book trying to like sabotage herself, essentially, to not have to be one of the final 6. But there's some sketchy things going on with this corporation, and yeah, it was a good pick-me-up read for when I read it. I'm someone who, like, the back's blurb by Beth Revis and Kendra Blake. I haven't liked either of the books I've read by both those authors, if I'm totally honest. So I was very hesitant, but I enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to pick up the sequel. It's not a super detailed sci-fi, but it's also, like, half of it, no, for the most part, most of it is actually set on Earth, really. So it was kind of like a step in, like, touching your toe in the water to get into it sort of thing. I really liked the use of climate change. I know there's always one person that says, climate change isn't real, and then I'm like, it's 40 degrees outside and it was snowing here 2 days ago. Like, but I just really like that that's becoming, like, a thing in sci-fi now, because, like, maybe that'll finally make it click for some people of, like, wow, we do have a lot in similarity with, like, the Day After Tomorrow movie or whatever. Like, oh, maybe we should look at some of the science stuff and trust these people who spend their lifetime and, like, scrounging for grants to, like, know what they're talking about. Imagine that. Anyways, so I'm being really salty today. I'm sorry. But I actually really enjoyed this. This is a pleasant surprise to me because it is so small, because it was, like, listed as sci-fi. I liked the romance in here. It is really cute. I liked the ending. The ending was a really cool twist. I wasn't expecting that. And yeah, I'm definitely going to read the second book whenever it does come out, and I'm really into this. This, like, mini sci-fi thing that's happening in YA. They're digestible for me. They're not like Illuminae. They're not massive space operas or anything. But I think that could be a really good thing. I find space operas a lot of the time are very, they're too much. They're too much. I'm someone who, like, I'll watch a Star Wars film or two, but the depth of, like, information that people retain from that Star Wars, how many movies is it now? Like 9, 12? Is insane to me. Like, I can't intake and comprehend all that stuff and pick up on all these little extra pieces. That's just not something I can really do. Illuminate is like my max capacity. So things like this are really nice refreshers for me. I also read Water's Wrath this month by Elise Kova. This is book 4 in the Air Awakened series. Like, this sounds, again, salty. It's really not. It's kind of a compliment. This series is like traditional YA trope fantasy. Like, the brother-girl that lacks a lot of personality romance triangle here. Falling in love with both the characters here. Both of those male characters having the emotional maturity of a wet potato. Here. Yeah, like here. I still thoroughly enjoy it. I don't know why, okay? Like, I don't understand why I still keep reading. This series is literally everything you would imagine of a YA fantasy. Maybe it's just the things that I'm promised in certain books, like An Affair of Poisons. Those are actually really, really important to me. To get women in science representation, to get women do something other than falling in love with men that have, like, zero applicability, and to learn things. And, like, I feel like the main characters do grow a lot, but, like, when I look at the romance is just so ridiculous. And, like, but it's almost, like, it is kind of laughable. And, like, I'm not trying to say that in a rude way, but, like, I think you know what I mean. I don't know how to explain it, but, like, yeah, I enjoyed Water's Wrath. I'm really curious and concerned and scared to read Crystal Crown, but that's what I'm going to do, today. This is going up on Sunday, so on Sunday I'm starting Crystal Crown. I'm very nervous, but I am going to read it. This week I also read Stolen Songbird by Danielle Jensen. I listened to the audiobook on this while driving down to Calgary to go to the book signing with Elise Kova and Danielle Jensen, and I was actually pleasantly surprised. I don't know who told me, if I read it somewhere, but it was like heavily like romance pitch, and it is a romantic book. But that being, like, there is the romance, but the tone of it and her writing is very, like, lends itself, it's very romantic, if you know what I mean. So, I wasn't totally sure. I know I'm gonna get crucified for this. I've never watched The Goblin King. I got dragged a couple weeks ago because I said, who's that guy from the Goblin King movie that has, like, that gif with the balls? And I got dragged for not knowing, is it David Bowie? I still can't remember his name off by heart, and having not watched the movie. I've seen, like, the trailer and, like, the honest trailer and everything for it. So, like, I kind of had the general, like, vague gist of the overall plot. And this actually reminded me when I was listening to it. So this girl's kidnapped and brought to this troll world and is betrothed very quickly to the king because she's supposed to be, like, the solution to a prophecy, because the trolls have been stuck essentially in, like, a parallel world underneath the human world, and she's supposed to be kind of the savior of it. And naturally, her and the guy that she gets married to don't like each other right off the bat. There is the whole prejudice between the humans and the trolls, and there is a lot of abuse on the side of the trolls towards the humans that they do bring underneath there. So the romance is cheesy, yes. However, the characters kind of won me over on that I got to the point where they were, like, kind of, you know, deciding whether or not to be together, and I was, like, rooting for them. Like, I don't know if it was, like, the audiobook narration specifically or the writing, but I enjoyed it, actually, so I plan on reading the rest of it, and I am going to pick up Dark Shores. She also mentioned at the event that she has a book called Broken Kingdoms too, that's available on Audible, that it is going to be coming out in physical and ebook format. So I'm gonna give that one a go too, because I didn't hate Stolen Songbird. So I'm gonna read the rest of the series, and I'm curious to see where that whole thing goes. And I think last I read The Ice Monster by David Walliams. This is my first David Walliams book. I did not know that he was an author. I know him as the very, like, flamboyantly, probably bisexual man on a lot of British comedic panel shows, who says very inappropriate things a lot of the time. And then I found out he's like a Roald Dahl, basically, author, and I was kind of mind blown. But this was adorable. Like, I read it in a couple hours. The illustrations are so Roald Dahl-esque. I finished this and was like, maybe I need to sneak a Roald Dahl in. Like, I haven't read The Witches in a long time, or James and the Giant Peach, or, like, I just haven't read a Roald Dahl. I haven't read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory since I was like, what, probably like 6 or 7. So like, maybe I gotta do a Roald Dahl binge now. But this was freaking adorable. It's set in 1899 and ends on like New Year's Day in 1900 with Queen Victoria in England. And our main character is this little orphan girl, and she runs away, and there is... The museum finds, on a dig, a frozen mammoth perfectly preserved, brings it back to England, as they do in colonization, because everything comes back to England when you find it in a different country. There's essentially like a Frankenstein monster situation, and the mammoth comes to life, and she tries to protect it. There's this like poacher running around. Essentially, it's like the female version of that dentist who like died on that poaching. Like, remember, like it was the dentist. He like killed a lion or something like that in like a poach, like a restricted zone, and then was like, well, I paid for it, and then left, and then came back a couple months later. We found out he died while trying to poach again. Like, it's like one of those people, basically. The main character is just so freaking adorable and lovable, and she's so pure, and, you know, at the end, she just kind of is so sweet between her and Queen Victoria, and Queen Victoria just kind of gives into this parental figure for her. It was just a sweet, nice, quick refresher, and I think this is a really good book for kids, especially. Like, the message is good, it's uplifting, and it's just, you know, it's light and fun, and I really enjoyed this. Okay, I think I'm officially caught up now. Those are the books that I read in the last couple weeks. I will link these in the description box down below. Make sure to check down there for those, and also check out all the links to my social media. If you follow me, I will follow you